Hey, welcome back to my channel. I hope you've enjoyed some of the Dauntless content I've been putting out lately. Today I'm going to be doing a brief guide on how to beat Hellion, mainly for the first time. I'm not going to go into too much detail about how to beat the heroic version. I'll do a brief summary of that, but let me know if you're interested in hearing more about the upgraded version of Hellion. But the focus for today is for players who are stuck on Hellion, trying to get that first kill, trying to farm him to get that first set of Hellion armor. So this build that you're seeing right now is not what we're focusing on. This is actually the build that I discussed in the Rage Tail video. That also works fine on Hellion. If you don't want to level up new armor that's specific to Hellion, you can go ahead and do this. It's not super ideal because, as you can see right there, I'm taking a fair amount of fire damage, and the build that I'm going to be talking about later is going to do something to help stop that. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, and thank you for stopping by. Okay, so let's go over the build that I'm recommending whenever you're first fighting Hellion. Now obviously, this isn't the ideal build, because really if you're fighting Hellion, you want to have Hellion pieces. But this is a second best. So what we've done is we're using the repeaters. I recommend using the Frost Barrel, so I'm going to also be using Salvo Chamber. And you can either use Extraction or Scoped Sights or whatever you want, it doesn't make that big a difference. And then also you'll probably want to use this Snowdrift Prism, because this is the Hellion Prism, the Searing Prism, the best one. But the Snowdrift is just sort of like a slightly less powerful version, and it does frost damage too, so it might work out better. I'm not using it because I don't have it leveled up, but if you don't have Searing, I recommend getting this up to +6 so that you can use it against Hellion for your first few fights. Now in the repeater cells, this technique cell you can swap out for whatever you want. I'm bringing Molten. If you're fighting Hellion in general, you want to have Molten. Molten is whenever you deal damage, you're going to drop these fiery cores that give you immunity to fire, attack speed, and movement speed. So it's very useful in any fight, especially against a fire behemoth. And Hellion's gear has Molten built in, so you'll have that in the final build that I'll show you after this. We have our Charog helmet. It has fireproof, and we've equipped a fireproof cell on that also, so we're maximizing that. If this was at +10, you'd be completely immune to fire, which is what you want to shoot for. We also have the Charog chest, which is going to give us Aether Hunter and the second half of our attunement. We're using the Nasher grips, which just in general, the Nasher grips are actually very nice to have. They have a power perk built in and a power cell slot, so you'll use these a lot in your early game builds. So try to level these up. Don't sleep on them just because they're the first beast gloves. They're actually very nice. And then we have Karabac feet. So all this put together gives us +6 conditioning, Rage Hunter, attunement, and if everything was maxed out, we'd also have Aether Hunter and Fireproof. Also, we have this technique slot. You can use whatever you want. I recommend using Molten if you have it, or something like Evasive Fury or Predator. It's only a +3 because it's just coming from this slot right here. With repeaters, you're always going to have a +3 left over. It's never going to be all +6s. So let's see how this works. Yeah, so the thought process is you're stuck on Hellion. You need an armor set to help you farm him, because Hellion's armor is very powerful, very useful, and the best thing to use against Hellion himself. But you have to beat him before you can craft his set. The reason why it's good is because the fireproof sort of cuts off his main problem, which is that he covers the ground with lava pretty constantly. And you're getting some good damage in there. You're getting Rage Hunter, Aether Hunter. You've got plenty of stamina, so you can dodge around as much as you need to. It should work out pretty well. It's not life-changing armor set, but it is +50 fire resistance, so you're going to be taking a lot less damage from this guy. Now this build does sort of rely on you having a fair amount of skill with the repeaters, but I'll talk through basic repeater mechanics. Maybe I'll make a whole video on it later, but I'll just give you the Spark Notes version while we're fighting this guy, if we ever find him. Whenever you're using repeaters, the main thing to know is that you need to be properly cycling through all your buffs. And you want to be empowered, which is whenever you reload right next to the behemoth, as often as possible. So you can see we're standing in fire. It's not going to last that long. I think it only takes one roll to get rid of it, because of our +5 fireproof. And if we pick up this core, we can stand right in the fire and take no damage. One thing to watch out for that just got me there with repeaters is make sure you know how much ammo is in your gun, because I was trying to fire a shot and instead what happened was it automatically reloaded. Now, Hellion acts very similar to Pangar if you've had a chance to fight Pangar. Once you master one, you've sort of mastered them both, if you ask me. He makes a lot of moves that are pretty easy to predict. He pretty much just has this tail spin, which just watch for it on the backswing, because you might not expect it to hit you on the way back. And also watch out for his stomping. You can really take advantage of how he stomps. He usually does one foot and then the other, or he might do the same foot twice, but not that often. Try to pick up, if you manage to get Molten, make sure you're picking up all the cores as often as you can. That way you keep the buff up. Now we did knock him down with our thing there. And another thing about Hellion, whenever you break his scales, he'll drop cores of his own. So you can see there's a ton of them over there. I didn't spawn those, those were just dropped by him. And if you pick them up, you'll get very nice bonuses. It looks like he's running away, unfortunately, so we're gonna, oh no, he's... This attack is a little bit hard to dodge at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that difficult. You just have to dodge a lot later than you would think. Now the good thing also about using the blizzard barrels is that he's going to be frozen a lot of the time, which means he's going to be moving slower, which lets you sort of pick your shots. Watch out for when he rages. He doesn't have stomps like the Rage Tail does, but there is a significant amount of range to it, just like that. Don't want to get hit that way. We're taking a lot more damage than is ideal, but the more you fight him, the more you'll be able to predict what he's going to do. See, that's really not that difficult. It might take a little longer because my barrels are at +8 and you'll probably be at +6 whenever you're trying this. But if you just keep at it, you can see we didn't have to worry too much about the fire. Where if you don't have the fireproof from the Charog and you don't have molten cores at all, this is really a nasty fight. Okay, so here's the better version of the armor that you want to use to fight Hellion. And you can see why I didn't open up with this as my recommendation, because it is 3 pieces of Hellion armor. And I'm also using the Hellion Prism on the repeaters. So this is ideal because you have +6 Molten, which is the cores that we talked about before, so that can keep you completely immune to fire the entire fight if you play it right. You have Rage Hunter, you have Cunning, you have Predator, and you have Aetheric Attunement. So Predator is going to keep your damage up if you can dodge correctly, but, well, it keeps your damage up if you don't take damage. And then Attunement keeps your Lantern up, so you can keep having the 30% damage buff, and the Lightning Bolt, which is fun. Then Rage Hunter is just more damage. Cunning works really well in tandem. This is typically what repeater players will run. You'll see we have this full bore chamber. So the key with this one is that it hits multiple times. If you shoot the shot, it basically just bores through the enemy. It doesn't stop. So if you're fighting Hellion, you hit him in the head, it can go all the way through his tail, and it's hitting him every time in sort of a... it hits him a lot, basically. So every time that hits, if you have Cunning, and if you have Lucky Magazine, you have an increased chance to get a critical hit, which is 180% more damage, I believe, with the new debuffs. So Lucky Magazine, the little gimmick with it is it's more chance to get a critical for every round that's missing. So the general strat is you keep your buffs up, you reload, you get empowered, and then you can shoot the full bore after you've emptied your whole magazine, or you're down to at least, at most, like 3 or 4, I think. And that's how you're going to get the most out of your build. So let's see how well this works against Hellion. Okay, we found him. I don't know why I pulled my guns out so soon. gotta watch out whenever you're dodging through that forward charge. A lot of times it'll look like you've made it through, but you're gonna get hit by his leg as he's running past you. That gets me a lot. You have to dodge straight through and not to the side. Oh man. And that was a double tail swipe. We did a good job of not getting hit that time. You see I'm using most of my ammo, and now while his head is towards me, you see that full bore travel through the length of his body. It hit him probably 7 or 8 times. Okay, I'm not sure why that did damage to me. Just keep up the pressure with repeaters. You don't want to stop shooting. Now here's a great thing with Hellion. Whenever he's enraged, you can, with repeaters, just stay at a distance and you're completely okay. Stay at a distance, shoot him in the head or the tail. You might even still be in your maximum damage range. His rage mode does not have much range at all. Another solid full bore. You'll notice I'm very particular that I'm picking up all of these cores, because it not only keeps my attack speed up, it also keeps me from taking damage from the fire, which is a key. We should have done a full bore there, but I was just holding down mouse 1. Didn't work out so well. Hopefully he lands before. You can see the little circle in the top corner. That's telling us when our empower is going to run out. Watch out if you do manage to get a freeze. It's a little bit of a yin and yang type thing, because even though he is slower, it does change the timing with a lot of his moves. So you have to make sure you know that it's going to be different. I still think it's worth it, but some people might not. So it's completely up to you. You can use any sort of barrels you want pretty much, except fire. But yeah, that was a lot quicker, even though we probably had a less clean run than we did with the old set. We're just dealing significantly more damage. If you had any questions about what we talked about today, click the link in my channel and join my Discord. The link is always down in the description or in the bottom right corner of that banner. Discord's a lot easier because I can respond to you immediately, since I'm notified with every message. Or check out my Twitch channel. I try to stream at least once a week, so jump in my chat and ask whatever questions you have. Thanks for watching.